Yeah, we're here. So thanks everyone for joining Jesse's webinar series. For people that aren't familiar with me myself, I'm James Gibson, one of the solutions account managers here at JASCI. We also have Joe Rist on the line. Joe, would you like to make an introduction?
Yeah, hey everybody, thanks for joining again. My name is Joe Rist. I'm the Director of Solution Sales at JASCI, and today I'll be guiding us through a webinar on order download, order management, and an omni-channel environment.
Yep, as Joe mentioned, right, we're going over our omni-channel order management functionality. It's going to be touching on work type assignment, allocation, your order download and cartonization logic, as well as our patented gravity waveless work management solution, which allows you to basically reprioritize work throughout the platform. That'll touch on our priority wizards, as well as some open order reports, dashboards, and our analytics tool. Okay. Um, I'll be monitoring the chat throughout, so if there's any questions, feel free to put them in there, okay? Um, Joe, I'll hand things over to you.
Sure. Yeah, and before we dive into the platform, I just have a few things I want to review about the order download process within JASCI and what occurs right after orders are downloaded. So, as you can see on the screen across the top, we have, how the data comes into JASCI. That could be integrated order data through via API or EDI, etc. We also have a data load functionality where you could take a CSV or an Excel file and upload either an order or a bunch of orders at once. For some of our more manual customers, maybe 3PLs where their client doesn't have an ERP system or a host system, and they're, typically just emailing or sending orders in a spreadsheet. And then we also have the ability to manually create orders with our sales order maintenance and order entry functions within JASCI. So there's multiple ways that orders can come to JASCI. But once they do, they all go through the same process, which is going to be four steps that all kind of work together and happen in sequence. So there's the cartonization, allocation, work type assignment, and prioritization. Now we're going to dive deeper into what those actually mean on the next slide, but it's basically a four-step process that JASCI has for having this large funnel for all different types of orders. Maybe you have a facility that processes both wholesale orders and LTL orders, and then you also do direct to customer, and you're getting a bunch of e-commerce orders in. JASCI is able to all take that in one environment, and based on different points of data about those sales orders, we're able to determine how we want to allocate them, what work type we want to apply, what kind of priority we want to give to these picks for the orders. So that's why we have this four-step process. Now, each of those four steps, we're going to go into more detail on the next slide. But before we talk about that, I just want to show what happens after we do the work type assignment and prioritization. Based on what work type it received, it will be released to the floor differently. So for your e-commerce picking, typically we release those automatically in a waveless environment for the single and discrete picks, and those are going to be immediately released. You might have a put wall if you're doing e-commerce and you're doing batch picking and you're wanting to basically have orders get consolidated at a put wall. Once those orders are assigned to a put wall, whether you did that manually or you have it automatically driven, that's when those picks for the put wall cube will be released and be considered as part of batches for the pickers. And then we also have case and pallet picks. These are going to be released when orders are assigned to the route. And we'll show an example of that today as we go to our viewpoint load and show how you would assign a route to a door, releasing all the orders associated with that route. There's obviously more work types in this, but this is kind of a general path for the majority of them. Whether they're going to be immediately released, released once they're assigned to a wall, or released once they're assigned to a door or route. So, James, you can go ahead to the next slide. And we're going to talk about those four steps that I just mentioned: the cartonization, the allocation, the work type assignment, and the prioritization. So the first one we'll talk about is cartonization. This is where JASCI is going to look at the order size, the quantities, the lines, what products are on there, and we're going to consider the dimensional data that we know about those products, as well as how we store in different units of measure within our warehouse, how much quantity is in each location. And by cartonizing, we're determining if that needs to be, say, a full pallet pick, or maybe it's going to be cases to a pallet, or maybe we're going to be suggesting a particular box size for the e-commerce order based on the dimensional data. When we're cartonizing, let's say it's for picking cases to a pallet and it's going to be multi-SKU on that pallet, we're able to determine how big a proper pallet should be based on dimensional data of the products. So we're actually able to chop up the work for a large format order into what we estimate will be those ultimately full pallets of mixed products. That takes a lot of the guesswork out of what the operator has to do, where they say, okay, this is going to be, this is enough for one pallet. Let me move on to more picks for that order to build my next pallet. We're already doing that ahead of time. However, we still give the freedom to the operator with the choice of a button that says pallet full, just in the event that maybe your dimensional data wasn't perfect about that SKU and it had JASCI trying to build a bigger pallet than you would typically want to build, or maybe you have something that might crush because you didn't put in the crushability factors. So we still give that button as kind of a last resort for the pickers to say, hey, you know what, JASCI did its best job to group these pallets together, but for some unknown reason, I have to cut this one short. So that's cartonization, is basically us figuring out what quantities we're going to be picking in, what dimensional data is surrounding those finished picks that we're going to do. The next step is the allocation. So once we've figured out that cartonization, we're able to properly determine where we'd like to allocate this inventory from. So JASCI actually has a workflow for allocation where all of your allocation rules can happen sequentially in steps. And that's going to help find the best possible inventory to pick. This could be based on rules about expiration or first in, first out. It could be about, lots and not mixing lots. It could be about maybe you've marked particular areas pick clean, meaning that you don't want any more of that same SKU put away or replenished there. And you want to go ahead and free up that location for a new SKU that's coming in. We'll actually be able to prefer those pick clean locations in our allocation process. It could be by the zone or the area or the optimal pick path. So there's a wide range of factors that go into why we choose where to allocate from, but that all is going to occur within one of our workflows. We have workflows for almost all of our processes. A lot of them are you'll see on the mobile devices, like you've seen in our other webinars and demos. Allocations workflow is kind of a back-end workflow where you don't actually control it happening, but you do have to have the option of setting up what sequence you want your allocation rules to follow. So after the allocation, we do work type assignment. So based on where we allocated from and how we cartonized, we're going to be able to know what types of work types we want to apply to these picks for these orders. So this is going to be, and we're going to show a screen where we show our work type maintenance, so you can kind of determine what becomes a single pick, what becomes a discrete pick, a put wall pick, etc. Maybe you have certain work types and pick types if it's a VIP customer or a rush order. Those are all going to be controlled, or maybe it's for a certain sales channel. Maybe you want your own work type for your Amazon orders that come through because you want to process those or visualize those differently. We're going to show a screen that breaks that all down. But based on these different factors that you set in your work type assignment, JASCI will assign a work type to these picks that are created. And lastly, we have the prioritization. This is going to be based on that work type that's chosen, how long the order has been aging. You have could be the carrier, the service level. A wide range of factors will go into what priority point value we give those picks, which is crucial for a system-directed environment to not have a supervisor constantly saying, okay, here's the next batch that someone's going to pick based on these things I know and this amount of time that I just spent processing all these orders. That's all happening automatically. Now, in a system-directed environment, it's crucial to have your prioritization rules established up front so that everything can flow smoothly, but not every day is exactly the same. And that's why we're going to go into Gravity today and talk a little bit about Gravity's prioritization. So, Gravity is a tool that we've built in JASCI. It's a patented tool of ours that allows you to create profiles or groups of work that you want to constantly monitor how much is out there. And then you can choose to reprioritize all of the work in that profile or one particular work or pick in that profile to be either higher or lower priority, which will automatically feed that information to the pickers as they sign into their carts or to their picking flows. It's going to be reading real-time information of the highest priority picks to distribute to them for that zone that they're working in. So I wanted to review a little bit about our process of order download for Omni-Channel. All different types of orders. We're going to create all different work types. I just wanted to review that before we jump into the software, and look at a few of these screens that go into it. So James, if you could just flip back to the initial screen there that shows the outline of what we're going through today. Just one more. Yep. So again, we talked about our work type and allocation. We talked about a little bit about the prioritization. I'm going to show you the priority wizard as well. But let's go ahead and dive into a screen for work type assignment. Then we'll go into gravity, and we'll talk a little bit about our priority wizard and also some reporting on the software. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Share. Can you see that all right, James?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, great. So today we're going to go into our setup, one of our setup screens. I have a lot of setup screens because I do not only a lot of demonstrations, but I'm also constantly working on different aspects of the software. Today we're going to go into the work type assignment maintenance. This is going to show us all of the work types that we have set up. If we wanted to add a new one in, we have the Add New button. If we want to edit one of these, we can go in and edit them. So let's go into one just to show you what goes into it. So your work type, you'll be able to select which work type this is for based on your work types that are in the system. If you want to add a new work type, you can just simply add one in and you'll be able to have that show here. Now, you also have sequence to be checked, so you can numerically value your sequence of when it looks to create one work type versus another. Maybe they'll have a lot of common characteristics about them, but there's one specific thing that you want the system to look for. Let's say it's a certain type of single pick, maybe, or a discrete pick. Maybe it's for a VIP customer or something. Then we would go ahead and mark this as an earlier sequence. That way it looks at this and recognizes that, oh, we do have the VIP slot marked as yes on this order, so we'll make it a VIP order. Even though all of the other things matched what would go for a discrete order, your sequence is going to be important to check for certain values. Now we can also mark if this is an e-com, retail, wholesale order or not. These are all fields in the sales order files that can be sent or created. Some of those fields are if they're going to be this type of work. You can also specify the sales channel that it came from. Again, these are all things that can be integrated in with the orders or added in through the data load or the manual order creation. Also, a route. So a route would be important for your case picks and pallet picks that are going to ultimately be loaded to a truck and assigned to a door. Route is pretty important to have with those types of orders because it's how we group together those orders for easier assignment, which we'll show a little bit later on. You can specify the quantity from or quantity to, the line from, line to, order cube from and to as well. Maybe, for super large orders, you have to use a different type of picking cart or, a different process. So you want to make sure that if the cube is greater than a certain amount, you would want this work type applying to it. You also have like if there's VAS involved, as I mentioned before, if it's a VIP customer or not. Ship via is a very common field that we'll use for work type assignment. If there's a particular ship via that comes through with the order, we'll know to automatically create that particular work type for it. You can also choose if this is going to be multi-zone or single work zone, which is very important. Let's say you're leveraging put walls. A very common use of put walls is when you have orders that might be allocated across different work zones. Instead of having someone travel from zone to zone and have a ton of footsteps across the warehouse, maybe you want our allocation to basically allocate them for different put wall picks and then have them consolidated at the put wall. So if you were making a put wall work type, you would want single work zone orders probably marked as no. And that's going to know that we're saying, okay, we're going to take something that we've allocated across these different zones and create picks from them. So there's a lot of rules that can go into it, and you can also mark that all settings have to be true or not for the work type selection if you want to get really granular with it. We don't recommend going completely overboard with the amount of work types that you have because it's just more to manage from a visibility aspect as well as setup. but we do recommend using different work types to accomplish different types of picks properly. So that's our work type assignment maintenance. Again, JASCI will help you determine what those work types are from the get-go during the implementation, and we'll recommend them and set them up. But you always have that option to come in here and edit them or add new ones if you'd like to. All right. So we also talked about priority. While I'm on some of these screens, I'm going to talk about the prioritization as well. So here's our prioritization wizard. Now you can prioritize off a whole bunch of things, whether it be work type or the priority code. You can have priority codes associated with orders. You can have the carrier and service level. You can have it, based on how long it's been aging. We can increase it by a certain amount of points. And this sequence up here, this top block, is actually determining a lot of logic of, how we sequence all of these things together. So in this case, work type would be the top thing that it's doing its prioritization on because that's the first step of the sequence. And according to this, aging would be kind of our least important, really only impacting a few points here or there for the overall priority point value of that work. But the point of this is to create a priority point value for all work that flows through JASCI that's going to be system directed. And by having a priority point value for all work, that's how you can operate seamlessly in a waveless environment because your pickers and people performing location checks, things like that, any kind of system directed work, it's going to be considering the highest priority orders and picks that are out there within reason for the pick path and for as you sign into these zones, that's how it figures out which work to distribute. So it takes a lot of labor away from supervisors having to manually do all that in the morning, figuring out who they're going to assign certain picks to and why they're going to be assigning those picks first. This is our goal is to be waveless. Now, to assist with a waveless system-directed environment, it's nice to have these prioritization rules, but not every day is exactly the same, which is why JASCI has this patented tool called Gravity Waveless Work Management. And Gravity is basically a reporting section that also allows you to take action on the priority of the work that you're viewing. So you can see here I've created tabs for myself like inbound inventory picking, returns, picks by carriers, and even work that is out there and is currently assigned to people. Like if I go to this, I could see I currently have 15 assigned pallet picks out there right now, which is probably pretty high, considering I'm the only one in my warehouse. I've assigned all these picks to other people that aren't here. So if I saw this, I could go in here and I could start to reassign the pallet picks from the people that I know aren't on shift anymore. So just something I always recommend with Gravity is to keep an assigned profile so you can constantly monitor work that's out there that may have got assigned to someone who went home, changed what they were doing that day. Maybe they got let go or sick or something. So it's important to be able to have that. But let's go to our picking, for example. And here we can see we have different, I do it by work type, but you can create these profiles on really any data point that you'd like to. Maybe it's by customer, maybe it's by sales channel, maybe it's by the carrier and service level, maybe it's by how long it's been aging or your promised delivery date. There's a wide range of factors of how you can set up your profiles, which we'll go into in just a moment. But here you see we have, let's say we wanted to, our Amazon orders. We could see that the average system priority is actually pretty low for these. And maybe we're saying, you know what, we actually do need to get all these Amazon orders out. I could see I have 3 hours and 52 minutes of labor ahead of me just in this profile. So we want to go ahead and boost that up. I think typically Amazon orders are going to be at pretty high priority. I'm not sure why I have it so low. But what we can do is take this slider bar for the super prioritization, and we can slide it all the way up to the front and hit apply. And that's going to apply a new priority point value for all of the works to basically be the highest priority work that's out there. You can also force a particular point value. So maybe you'd want to look at this kind of in the morning or maybe mid-morning and say, okay, here's all of our picks out here. Let me go ahead and sequence these how I'd like to. Now, again, your goal is to set the system up to sequence the priority based on how you typically work. But again, any given day, you can come in here and reprioritize either an entire profile of work to be at the front of the line like we just did, or to have a certain point value compared to others. Or you can go in and you can get granular with it, and we can choose a particular work or pick that we'd like to force to the front, and we can hit that force button and give that the maximum amount of points if we'd like to. So just by doing that, now that discrete pick is going to be at the front of the line for the next person that signs into zone 200, which I see is where almost all of these are coming. That one that I chose to reapply the priority of is going to be at the top of that pool. So that's how gravity operates. You can see your work, your lines, your quantity across all of your profiles that you build. You can also see your labor calculations and also how many of those works are aging out of the total amount that you have there. And then you can view the systematic priority. Now, the labor calculation, this actually comes from a labor standard that you can program in for all work types in the zones that they occur. We're going to cover that in a future webinar when we talk about our labor reporting and labor standards, labor lookups, etc. But Gravity actually leverages that data and will show you how much labor is ahead of you to help you make decisions on if you need to reprioritize or if you need to restaff other people into that zone or into that work type. Now, real quick, I want to show, we'll probably do a deeper dive on Gravity in a future webinar, but I do want to show how these profiles are built. So if we were to go to, say, um, our orders here, we can see that it's got our FedEx orders, for an example. We have a header level information and line level information. So this one's looking at the header level. It's looking at work that is either open, assigned, working, or picked but not packed. And then it's also looking at the carrier ID of FedEx. Now, if we wanted to get more specific here, we could say, and also, have it look at a particular service level, or maybe we want the sales channel. Maybe we want anything with a sales channel of Amazon or Zulily or wherever they're actually buying or ordering the products from that would come through with that order. We can also filter for that. So your header area is going to have all sorts of columns of data available that we can use for reference. Anything that's going to be at the header level of a sales order that we download or a work that we create from an order. And same concept for the line level details. Your selections here are going to be more line level things like location, quantity. You can also do status at both the header and the line level, location that we're going to, or location that we're picking from. A whole bunch of different things at the line level, the product as well. If you want to create gravity profiles by product, you can do that too. So Gravity allows you to basically build a query in the front end, then that's then going to constantly display to you, and it can refresh on its own. So if you just want to leave this on a screen somewhere, it'll constantly refresh and update itself to show how much work lines and quantity match your profiles that you've built. And again, you can drill down into those and investigate the exact works that make up that profile. So I wanted to talk about Gravity a little bit, but again, we'll do deeper dives on Gravity in the future with webinars, like customer examples of how they set up their Gravity profiles. Mine are pretty basic here, just by work type, so I could see what I have out there for my demo environment. But I'd say all of our customers use it a little bit differently because you can tailor it to how you run your business and how managers want to be able to see how much work is out there. So this is a great visibility tool. We like to call it actionable analytics because not only can you see what's out there, but you can also take action on it with the priority point value. Now, JASCI does have other ways that you can see work that's out there. For example, if we wanted to do our viewpoint work screen, this is actually going to show us all of the work by zone, how much is out there in particular statuses, which is a pretty nice tool. It's kind of raw, the data that you'll get, but it is one screen that shows you all of your work that's in the system at once. But what we really want to show you today is more about our reporting tool, where you can see a little bit of it on the screen. For example, our order snapshot. This is going to be defaulting to a date range of 1 day, but you can see how many you've shipped today, how many are open, how many are in trouble, which we consider trouble to be, for in this case, there's two troubles in JASCI. In this case, it's when orders come down and they either have an order hold, a customer hold, or we don't have inventory to be able to allocate for it. And you can actually see in our view trouble orders all of the reasons of why things are held up in trouble, if you'd like to release them or not, which JASCI will automatically release if we can as inventory is put away. Um, and you can see if you want to maybe change how you release it. Maybe you want to release part of the order because that customer still wants to get a portion of their order, or they're willing to wait for the remainder down the road. So tr in our view trouble orders, that's an area that you can see, orders that you probably need to pay some attention to. You can also see how many we've downloaded in that time range. Now you can go back as far as you need to with this. You can see here, in the last 2 years, actually, I just plugged in. I keep forgetting it's 2026. You can see how many I've shipped, how many I've downloaded in that range. I downloaded a lot of my orders a long time ago. So that's one of our snapshots for orders. Now we also have dashboards. Maybe you want to go to the dashboard that's set up for outbound, um, where it's going to show you like your order performance, how many orders are out there, charts that we've pre-made for this, open work by type, open work by zone. So if you wanted to see this different data, it's really easy to from the dashboard. This is part of our reporting tool, but if we go up here to our reporting menu option and click on reports, this is going to bring you to our full-blown reporting tool. Or again, I haven't shipped anything this week, so let me plug in some dates from the past here so we can have something on the graphs. But you can see up top the menu profile changed. Now we're within our built-in reporting tool. So we can actually go to any of our tables and do our own sorting and filtering and saving of reports if we'd like to, creating charts if we'd like. And then JASCI also has pre-made reports that is from our customer base and just JASCI in general, things that we've thought would be helpful for everybody. So you could see all of your open picks. You could see it by zone and by work type. You could see what's been picked but not yet packed and shipped. You could see your shipments total or by work type or by carrier. We could see freight detail report, which is a great one. If you want to monitor how much you're spending on your shipments, let's just go back in time here. So I can pull some data. A lot of my shipments are $0 because it's a demo environment. I only have a few things hooked up to an actual rate shopping, but you can see some of those are here. And this is going to show us how much we've actually been charged, which is also a great feature for JASCI, especially if you're a 3PL charge because or a 3PL customer, because you can also factor in like handling charges and get a total charge. And you can choose to not show that if you're providing reporting access to clients. But we could see the carrier service, we could see the order, the total quantity, the weight, etc. Now, if we wanted to, navigate this, it's just like a normal database where you can sort, you can plug in something that you'd like to filter by, and you can rearrange the columns, hide and show certain columns. We also have the ability to sort and aggregate the data. You can build a chart. And then my favorite is you can download and also subscribe someone to this report, whether it's yourself or somebody else. Doesn't even have to be a JASCI user. You're just plugging in an email address, and this report will automatically send to them on a reoccurring basis that you choose. But if we wanted to make a chart about this for our orders and say, let's show the by carrier how much we've spent over the time period that I plugged in and show the highest one first. This is going to bring us to a screen where it shows us how much we've spent in UPS versus USPS versus FedEx, etc., all of the carriers that you've plugged in. And if you haven't seen our demonstrations before, JASCI is also directly integrated with all your major carriers and your accounts. So you can just plug in your account and you can have your rate shopping and all of the shipping and packing side labels, everything handled within JASCI, which is helpful when it comes to the reporting because then you can see a lot more than just your orders and fulfillment. You can see how much it's been costing you to fulfill those orders. Um, so that's what we're going to wrap up with today is just giving some information on different order reports that we have. It's a constantly growing library. You do have the ability to manage who's able to see what reports, which ones you have showing or not. Um, so there's a whole management piece of this. And, if you'd like to see more about our BI tool, our reporting tool that's built right into JASCI, then please reach out to us and we'd always be happy to give a demonstration. All right, so that's where we'll end things today. We'll pause for a moment to see if there's any questions. Again, we covered order downloads into JASCI. We covered what happens to those orders to turn them into the picks, which goes through those four steps I highlighted: the cartonization, the allocation, the work type assignment, and the prioritization. We covered how priority and work type assignment exist within JASCI if you ever want to go and change your rules for work type assignment or prioritization. We covered gravity and how you can reprioritize picks that are out there and view different types of work. And then we also covered some of our lookups and reports for orders. All of this collectively allows for JASCI to be a very smooth omni-channel solution. It's basically one funnel that captures all of your orders, whether they're direct to customer or e-commerce, or if they're wholesale or LTL or to store orders.
Well, thanks, Joe. Yeah, we'll
Yep.
pause for any questions if there are any. Yeah, as with every webinar, it's recorded and it will be sent to everyone's email here. So yeah, if there's any questions or you want to review it again, yeah, check out the link on the follow. Okay, and we'll see you on our next one. Thanks, everyone.